It's match day again for Leicester City, and today the Blue Army have made the trip down to the south coast to face Brighton at the Amex Stadium. It's a quick turnaround from that game with Manchester United on Thursday, so let's see what Brendan Rodgers has done with today's team with our commentator James Fielden.
Thanks, Dan. The sun is shining here on the south coast, set up for a good game this afternoon. Interesting Leicester City team news. Out go Kieran Dewsbury-Hall and Jamie Vardy. They're both on the bench. Kelechi Iheanacho and Patson Daka come into the side up front, having last played together in the league against Everton back in May. Wout Faes is ineligible, having not received his visa through in time to feature here. So Leicester with Ward in goal, Justin and Didi, Evans and Thomas across the back. We understand it'll be 4-4-2 this afternoon. Madison wide right, Soumare, Tielemans and Barnes across midfield, Daka and Iheanacho through the middle together. Subs today, Daniel Everson the goalkeeper, Vardy, Brighton, Perez, Amati, Dewsbury-Hall, Mendy, Pratt and Castagna. For Brighton it's the single change. They were losers at Fulham on Tuesday. Pervis Estupiñán drops out of the side. Danny Welbeck comes in. Slight change for them. They go with Sanchez in goal. Veltman, Duncan, Webster their back three. March wide right as a wing back, and Mwepu, Caicedo and Trossard left wing back, and then Gross either side, and McAllister either side of Welbeck through the middle. The headline team news though for Leicester City: Iheanacho and Daka come in, Dewsbury-Hall and Vardy go out.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, we'll hear from you. You'll be alongside Matt Elliott on commentary today down on the south coast. We'll speak to Matt with about 20 minutes or so to go until kick-off. But welcome along to Matchday Live here on LCFC TV. We're live on YouTube and Facebook as well. And alongside me, Dan Bates, here in the studio is Matty Fryer. Jerry Taggart joins us via Zoom. I'll start with you, Matty. Good afternoon. Great to have you in.
Good afternoon. Glad to be back. Looking forward to it after what's been an eventful week, shall we say, at Leicester this week.
Yeah, they're always eventful weeks, Jerry Taggart, aren't they, for Leicester City? And hopefully this week will end in a victory for the Foxes down on the south coast.
Fingers crossed, Dan. Yeah, another massive game, you have to say. After, which obviously a disappointing result on Thursday night, decent performance, and a few changes, which I think was inevitable coming into this game, if I'm being honest. One or two players obviously needing to take a rest. You see them on the bench, Dewsbury-Hall and Vardy. So yeah, I know a new look front line, a new look formation as well, and hopefully, sometimes you say a change is as good as a rest, and hopefully that's the key today.
Hopefully that is the key. We will talk about that Leicester City team very shortly, but we've got plenty to get through here on Matchday Live this afternoon as we build up to kick-off at 2 o'clock. Well, we're going to look back on that game with Manchester United. It did eventually end in defeat for the Foxes, so we'll see what Leicester maybe could have done differently in that one on Thursday. We'll look back at 6 of the best strikes in Leicester City colours that were scored in the month of August. The goal of the month is live on the website, and also we'll take a close look, of course, at Brighton and their manager Graham Potter and the job that he's doing with the South Coast side, who find themselves in the Premier League's top 4 after a fantastic start to the season. We'll concentrate, of course, on Brighton a little bit later on, but let's talk about Leicester firstly, obviously, Matty, and that team news. It is a little bit surprising. What do you make of it? Are you surprised maybe by the omissions, Jamie Vardy, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall dropping to the bench?
A little bit, but then I suppose there needed to be a reaction from the defeat on Thursday night, and Brendan's looked at it and decided to freshen things up. I think there's a few players that have been chomping at the bit to get in. There's an opportunity for Kelechi and Patson to come in. A little bit surprised in Dewsbury-Hall, to be honest. I wouldn't say he was at his best Thursday night. Some of his decision making on the ball was a little bit poorer than usual, but he brings that energy, and I think in a game like today you've got to have that discipline, enthusiasm, energy which he brings, so that's a bit of a surprise. But at the same time, I thought Soumare was very good on Thursday night. Thought he broke up play. I thought he got that aggression, that bit of bite that you need, so I can understand why he's kept his place. But again, you do need to freshen things up, and he's decided it looks like a 4-4-2, so they've got to be very solid, very compact, and make it difficult so Brighton can't break lines. They're very, very good in possession, but one thing Brighton's do miss is for the build-up play. They don't create too many chances, so Leicester have got to be really solid, really compact, disciplined, and there's got to be togetherness. Keep that shape. And as much as Brighton might have large possessions of the ball, are they really penetrating? And when Leicester do regain the ball, can they go and exploit them opportunities that will present itself?
And do you think they will get opportunities, Jerry? We're hoping that they will, obviously, with this formation. Do you think it will be a 4-4-2? I guess with the personnel, it can be quite flexible, maybe?
Yeah, there is that. You know, with Daka, Andy and Nacho on the pitch, you would probably think that both of them would play up front. Although I suppose you could say you could move Kelechi onto one of the wide areas and put Samari as a holding midfielder with Tielemans and Madison as the two attacking midfielders. So there's an option for doing that. But, you know, it probably will be a 4-4-2 against what you would think Brighton are going to play 3 centre-halves, so 3-5-2, where they overload with the 2 full-backs and a back 4 would be on Leicester's flanks. So it would make sort of sense to play, you know, a 4-4-2 or that sort of similar sort of formation against, you know, the back 3 of Brighton. So yeah, it swings around, but we'll wait and see what happens. But I would suggest that, you know, Brendan will try and get the overloads in the wide areas today.
Yeah, what do you make of the changes that Brendan Rodgers has made, Jerry?
Pretty similar to what Matt said, but I do think, you know, it's a quick turnaround, isn't it? So for me, resting Jimmy Vardy, I think was inevitable, if I'm being honest. Shrewsbury Hall, yes, obviously a question mark over why he's been dropped. You know, nothing's come out to say he's got a niggle, so you have to say, you know, he's just changing it up. We don't really know. I give him man of the match actually on Thursday night. Shows you what I know. But I thought, you know, again, I thought Samari was excellent. I probably should have given it the baby Samari because I did think he was excellent. And rightly so, he keeps his place. So whether or not, you know, Brendan's looked at the way Brighton play, the way they set up, and changed the formation, stroke personnel because of that. Who knows? But, you know, I'm not surprised he's made changes, but there is a little bit of surprise around maybe one of the 2 that he has made.
Well, clearly, Matty and Jerry were watching different games on Thursday. Let's remind ourselves, though, of what happened just a couple of nights ago here at King Power Stadium.
And eventually, the respective captains lead out the 2 teams, Leicester City and Manchester United. Well, in recent seasons, Thursday evenings at King Power Stadium have meant European football nights, but it's the Premier League that takes centre stage on Filbert Way. It's brought under control by Darlow. First time, Fernandes in space, and he's played it to the edge of the box, and it's Rashford, and it's Sancho around Ward, and he rolls it into the net that was left for him, and Manchester United strike first at King Power Stadium. Madison into Tielemans, 25 yards out, onto Harvey Barnes, edge of the area, it's a shot, it's a great shot, it's curling, it's just wide. De Gea was motionless watching that one, a shot from nowhere really, no bat lift. He's poised to strike the Leicester the wall, jumping in front of the Manchester United wall. It's Madison, fantastic save, David De Gea. It was heading towards the top right corner of the goal, and De Gea diving to his left. It's a right-handed save, pushing the ball away, evades the referee, and then finds Bruno Fernandes. They're streaming forward in red. Bruno Fernandes dummies to shoot, feeds it to Darlow. It's a chip ball towards Ronaldo. It's an acrobatic volley that falls wide. Didn't really trouble Danny Ward, didn't really get the contact. Mark Hughes-esque for our older listeners. It's still 1-0 to the visitors. He starts to sprint out to the left-hand side, midway inside his own half. Barnes starts to run down the touchline. Daka through the middle. It's towards Daka. Beautifully laid off to James Justin, who fires it over the bar from inside the penalty area. That was probably the last chance. It might have been Leicester's best chance. Leicester nearly won it back. Samari did. James Justin was on his heels, and that was the final action.
Yeah, it eventually ended in defeat, of course, on Thursday. Jerry was on co-commentary. Matty, you were actually in the stands, weren't you?
And
in the
eventually
Leicester
the respective...
watching that game. And yeah, an overall frustrating evening, wasn't it, for the Foxes?
Yeah, it was. Surprisingly, there was a little bit of lack of self-belief, I thought, watching, in terms of the forward areas. There's no real connection between midfield to the front players. It was a little bit surprising. You could see the energy, you could see the commitment. That couldn't be faulted. Nothing about that. But I felt there was a little bit of self-belief. It was a little bit flat at times in terms of the forward play. And in terms of the goal Manchester United scored, the gap was very big between the defensive unit and the midfield, which something's got to be sorted today, where distances need to be tighter. Can't be afforded that much space, and at this level you get punished by those errors or that little bit of judgment between the units. So that's got to be sort of addressed for today. Brighton's a big pitch, so there's going to be space, but you'd afford it further away from goal. I thought it just got stretched a little bit, and obviously the quality of United punished Leicester on that one. But there was a little bit of sort of doubt, that self-belief there, that confidence in terms of the forward area, which you don't normally see with Leicester. But in terms of a defensive performance, I thought Johnny Evans, I know Jerry pointed out on Dewsbury Hall, but I thought Johnny Evans was excellent at the back. I thought he really led the team. Some of his interceptions, his tackles, breaking up play, doing what a good defender does, covering, and then playing out from the back, which will be needed again today. And he's got a lead as well, others alongside him, but I thought Johnny Evans' performance, for me, I thought he was the pick of the bunch on Thursday night.
Yeah, they didn't really have too many chances, Manchester United, did they, Jerry? Other than the goal, and we saw in the highlights clip the Ronaldo overhead kick. That's really only a chance for him in world football, pretty much, isn't it? So Leicester did stop Manchester United getting forward at them, and defensively were pretty sound. They were just, unfortunately, that the one time that they weren't, they were punished.
Yeah, that's it. I think it was a lack of communication. I think it was Danny Ward boots the ball, doesn't he? Long ball, Manchester United take it down, and while that ball's in the air, defensively you've got to organise the players in and around you. And what was or should have been a 3-on-3 with the two fullbacks pushed high up the pitch, but Samari was in there, and you look at Samari calling to Johnny Evans. Wilfred Ndidi gets dragged across. I don't think he needs to come as quick as he does. But for me, Johnny Evans has to organise Buba Samari to go out to Fernandes a bit quicker. He initially is an Irishman, and Johnny Evans should be able to send to Samari, I need you to drop, or I need you to go out to the left. Drop first and then get yourself out to the left, so then Johnny Evans doesn't get exposed, and then it becomes a 3-on-2. So Buba Samari for me is in no man's land. And we can talk about the fullbacks being high up, but you know, you're dealt with a situation as a defender, and you have to deal with that situation as it arises. And as it arises, it should have been a 3-on-3, and it turned out to be a 3-on-2 in favour of Manchester United, and they took full advantage. And that all basically boiled down to a lack of communication, or not reading the situation as it arose there and then. And that things like that have to sharpen up, definitely.
And you can kind of understand it a little bit, to play devil's advocate with Wilfred Ndidi. He's not a central defender, is he, by trade? He's having to play there at the moment, unfortunately. Again, we're seeing that today. Wout Fass's visa not coming through in time for this game today. So you can maybe understand Ndidi being slightly out of position at the back.
A little bit. I think there was a few moments in the first half that it was a little bit stretched as well. I'd totally take on board Jerry's point, the communication, someone like Johnny to sort of organise everyone else around it, because he's comfortable in that position, an experienced player, a leader. But in terms of Wilfred, I thought he did a decent job. He filled in. We know it's not his main position, but I thought he did a reasonable job just on that bit of play. It was a little bit stretched. Samari, do you get him in? Do you not kick it? I think with today, they've got, in terms of a team shape, got to be more compact. Set yourselves for obviously goal kicks, anything playing out. Got two banks of four, be difficult to beat first and foremost. A little bit different from Thursday night because the onus was on Leicester to play. So at times you're going to push the fullbacks on a little bit more because you're the home team, Away from home, you're going to probably more sit in and be just more compact, more difficult to break down. Going back to the games early in the season, I think at times we've been a little bit too open against Arsenal. As much as it was an entertaining game, in terms of a manager perspective, I think we were too open. And today it's really shut up shop, make it really difficult. They can have the ball further up the field. It's not going to hurt us further out. And then can we play on the counter and then seize that opportunity when it arises, and that bit of quality that's needed.
Well, the Foxes' left back on Thursday evening was Luke Thomas. He retains his place in the starting 11 today for that trip to the Amex. So let's hear from Luke Thomas, who spoke after the defeat.
To take tonight, how do you reflect as the players on tonight's game?
We've just spoken in the changing rooms, and we've said that it's a tough one to take tonight. Obviously, we had the mentality, and as you can see in the second half, we dominated really, and maybe should have got a goal or should have got something out of the game. But I think in the final third at the moment, we're just lacking that bit of quality to get that goal, and we know that will come, and then soon hopefully we can fly back up that table.
How frustrating was it to concede that goal after such a positive start? The crowd really behind you pre-match as well.
Yeah, we feel like we've had a good start to games throughout the 5 games that we've had so far, and obviously that goal, I think it's a bit of a soft goal to concede. We were very open, and then they've punished us there, so that's tough to come back from after conceding that goal when we were dominating the game.
Such a strong start to the second half. Is that from the words from the manager at half time, or is that the players coming out and sensing that chance to get back into the game?
Yeah, definitely. We've got the heart, and we want to win games. We don't go out there to lose, you know. We want to win, and obviously coming out strong in the second half, we were very positive. We were going forward, and it was just that goal that we couldn't get it.
The one right at the end, speaking, I suppose, as a fellow fullback, came to James Justin, and all of a sudden you thought the chance was coming.
Yeah, definitely, that's a chance, but I know JJ, that'll hurt JJ, but he'll bounce back very positive, and it'll come.
It's a tough start overall in terms of results, but in every game, the team and the squad must be taking positives from the performances.
Yeah, we don't feel like we deserve to be where we are. Obviously, we've had some good starts to games and positive performances, really. But it's just about getting them results, and that's what the Premier League's about: getting results and being high up there in the league. And it's not coming so far, but hopefully at the weekend against Brighton, we can bounce back and get that 3 points, which will be vital for us.
I can imagine the changing room is despondent at the moment after a defeat, but is there the confidence there that, as you say, Sunday is the next chance to start putting the points on the board?
Yeah, 100%. It's still early in the season. We've only had 5 games, and there's time to come back and time to get up that table. So Sunday is hopefully that time to do that.
Just on a personal view, your first involvement in the Premier League, first start, how pleasing was that, and how pleased were you with the performance?
Yeah, it's great to be in the side. That's all you want to do, and obviously it's your job, and to be out there on the pitch is what you want to be doing at the weekend. So I was happy to get that start and a decent performance.
Yeah, Leicester had that big chance, Joey, right at the end of the game that Luke was alluding to there for James Justin. It's a tough chance, isn't it, for Justin, particularly someone who's obviously not a forward themselves. He's not got that many Premier League goals to his name, but it's just frustrating because it was a really good opportunity right at the very end.
Yeah, and you know, you sort of nailed it. You know, in those sort of positions, and Matty's probably better off saying it's a pressure situation. We have seen James Justin score a couple of times in his Leicester City career earlier on in games, and when he's probably not expected to score. And then when that pressure chance comes to you right at the death, you've got a chance to be a hero, to drag something out of the game. And it was the same throughout the night. The lack of composure right at the death was the difference between scoring and not scoring, unfortunately. And again, it just showed that vital lack of composure in those kind of pressure situations. His first touch is decent. It probably could have been slightly better watching it back on the replay there, where he doesn't quite get it out of his feet enough. It's half under him, if that makes sense. And that's probably why you see him scoop the ball over the bar. You can see what he's trying to try. He's trying to leather it. Probably the right thing to do. Head down, foot through the ball, close your eyes and hope for the best. Because of the situation in the game where he finds himself, last kick of the game almost, and a pressure situation, and he's a fullback. I'm not used to being in those pressure situations at those moments in games. And unfortunately, he couldn't quite pull it off. But as I say, that was the tail of the night. Good situations. Leicester got themselves in some good situations on Thursday night. And unfortunately, it was just that little lack of composure right at the death that let them down.
Was that how you scored most of your goals in your career, Matty? Just close your eyes, foot through it, hope for the best.
Yeah, pretty much what Jerry said.
Yeah. And when you look at the team today, obviously they've got the likes of Daka now in there, Iheanacho, Madison, Barnes. These are forward players that hopefully, if they get into those opportunities, can slow down and not let the pressure of the situation get to them.
I think it was a harder chance than people are making out for James Justin on that one. It's the last minute of the game. He's made a Mirandin run up the right hand side, been played in. As Jerry said, his touch wasn't perfect, but he's still moving at pace. And then you've got to really smash it into the far corner against the top goalie as well. When you look back, you think, "Oh, just dink him." But it's that composure in that situation where you're in. But in terms of the players you alluded to there, they're more used to being in those situations.
Particularly that man there. So I think with the change, I think there needs to be more link up with the forward play. I think at times Jamie Vardy was isolated on Thursday night, and I think Iheanacho is going to drop into them holes and link the play between midfield and the forward areas. And then Patson, you want to see him on his bike. Just threaten the back line, make space. He might have to make, 100 runs, and he might get one opportunity, but he's got to provide those 100 runs to be seen to create that one. Whether it falls for him or not, it might fall for someone else, or he might create the space, but he's got to be constantly threatening that back line, because no defender wants to be turning facing their own goal. And then even on them clips there, you see the quality. He didn't have his best tonight, James Madison, on Thursday, but the free kick, it's top class. He's got goals already this season. His numbers last year were terrific, and he adds that bit of quality as well. And then we also saw the effort from Barnes, which was fractions away. And at times as well, his quality on Thursday wasn't as his usual standard, but he's direct. So I think when you're looking at a front four, they all cause problems in different ways. So that's certainly something that Brighton have got to have their eyes on, but Leicester to take advantage of that. Yeah, Leicester just need a little something to go their way. Hopefully it happens today. They've actually scored plenty of goals this season already, Leicester, albeit the points don't quite match to that. Let's take a look back at 6 of the best scored in Leicester colours in the month of August.
Hall on the edge of the area. Oh yes! Oh yes! Keenan Dewsbury Hall on the edge of the box, rolled to in by Jamie Vardy and left-footed. He has released a thunderbolt low across the ground and into the bottom right-hand corner. King Power Stadium has lift-off for the new season. It's 2-0.
Pass from Madison to release Iheanacho. Iheanacho onto that left foot, reverse pass, back to Madison, who shoots brilliantly through the legs of Ramsdale. Game on again. James Madison scores for the first time this season. He salutes the travelling fans, and it's 3-2. What a match in the sunshine.
Lincoln can cross from deep, looking for Hurst. Mazwanise, brilliant! What a finish on the volley from the main man at the start of the season for the Foxes. Tawanda Mazwanise makes it 3 goals in 3 games in PL2, and on 25 minutes the Foxes double their lead.
Madison delivers low towards the near post. That is genius from James Madison. Gavin Bazunu was covering the other side, and James Madison fancied his chances. And boy, did he strike! Leicester City lead here at King Power Stadium. A slice of brilliance from Madison. 1-0.
Barnes Ball breaks for him. Vardy, Barnes, angled tight on the left. Harvey Barnes on his left and finds the back of the net. Game on at Stamford Bridge. Harvey Barnes.
Well, I said it would change the game, and that certainly has changed the game. It's brilliant play from Harvey Barnes.
Nice turn. Good balance as well, despite the challenge, and then a really good ball. And Mazwanise is in on goal, and Mazwanise scores for Leicester, making it 5-5 at the start of the season for him, carrying on that goal-scoring form. Some wonderful play by Braybrooke. Initially the turn, then the balance, and then the pass that was into the path of Leicester's leading marksman. It's a very cool finish.
Yeah, some pretty good goals there scored, and in Leicester colours then in August. Matty, any particular ones stand out to you?
I think it's got to be the Dewsbury Hall one, just with the difficulty and the technicality side of it, where it's rolling across, letting it, timing of it, and then the strike. It's so pure and such a difficult technique made really easy, and from the distance as well. He's 30 yards out, and it's just been driven in. It's top draw. It's really difficult, especially letting the ball run across your body with speed, and he's made it look so easy. So for me, it would be Dewsbury Hall with that strike. It was fabulous, but like I say, in terms of the technique, it's so difficult to do, and he's caught it perfect, hasn't he?
Do you agree, Jerry?
Yeah. Although I do have to say James Madison's free kick against Southampton was, again, top drawer. So it's really hard to pick one out of those two, if I'm being honest. The difficulty in the technique of Madison's, again, the whip he has to get. He has to hit that ball absolutely perfectly as well. The keeper sort of half knows what he's thinking, sort of tries to cheat half a yard, the keeper, and Madison pulls off an absolute wonder strike. I mean, both goals are top class. There's no doubt about that. So, but I'll leave it to the fans to pick one out of them too, because it's so difficult. I mean, that is top drawer. Keenan Dewsbury Hall's is top drawer. So, can you decide whose is better than the other? I don't think you can. But as Matt says, Dewsbury Hall's probably because he's on the run. All right, the ball's not coming at great pace. It's a good layoff from Jamie Vardy to find him, but you still have to pull off that perfect strike while the ball's moving and you're moving towards it, which is really, really difficult.
Hopefully we'll see a bit more James Madison magic as well today, Jerry. I remember a couple seasons ago here against Brighton, he got 2 goals. He was really hunting a Premier League hat-trick, wasn't he? So he knows what it takes to score against Brighton, and he's the key man, really, isn't he, at the start of this season for the Foxes?
Yeah, definitely. He's been brilliant. And we're seeing it in pre-season, down in the pre-season games where he really had the bit between his teeth. And he's trying to carry that on. And again, he started well with his goal return, his performances as well. And you're right. You need your key players. Obviously, in any game of football, but with a situation being as it is, then even more so today, you need a player of James Madison's calibre to really step up and drag the team forward.
Yeah, it may be needed against a Brighton side that have started extremely strongly at the start of this season. So let's hear now from their manager Graham Potter and athletic journalist Andy Naylor. Brighton have started the season extremely strongly under Graham Potter and find themselves in the Premier League's top 4 with 10 points from their opening 5 games. It's a start that many of their fans may not have been expecting due to the run of fixtures they had on paper.
If you looked at the fixtures when they came out, you were looking at a pretty tough start on paper. Manchester United away first game, West Ham away, Newcastle home, Leeds home, Fulham away. You know, that looks a pretty tough set of fixtures. To take an average of 2 points from those 5 games, very good.
One of the keys to this great start to the season for the Seagulls has been how sound they've been defensively. In those opening 5 games, they've only conceded 3 goals. That's the best record out of all the teams in the division, and it's something that manager Graham Potter is very pleased with.
Well, we always talk about balance and attacking and defending well. And that's something that we focus on. It's something that we try to do better and better as we work together. So clearly, if you're not conceding, you've got a chance in games. At the same time, you want to be attacking well and creating chances. So we look at both sides and try to improve those.
We haven't actually conceded any at home. The home fortress, that element, because lots of people have spoken about other clubs that are not as feared to go to anymore, like Old Trafford, for instance. Are you trying to build that here? Are you trying to build a fear factor?
Yeah, I think it helps if you've got that connection with the fans, if you've got that atmosphere that makes it very hostile for the away team. That's, I think everybody in football will say, if you go to a ground where you know the crowd are with the home team, there's a real connection, there's a real passion, there's a real emotion, and everybody's on the same feeling, then it's hard for the away team. But I think that you have to work towards that, you have to create that, and we've tried our best to do that. I think we've got better and better and come out of a COVID period, which is not, obviously there's nobody there. But I think more and more the supporters are, we're playing a bit better. I think the supporters are more and more with us, and I think there's been a really good atmosphere at the Amex.
How impressed, Matty, have you been with Brighton and Graham Potter, particularly at the beginning of this season?
He's done a great job, hasn't he? Not just at the start of this season. I suppose as a football club at the minute, Brighton are the highest they've ever been, so full of confidence. Fans are in, obviously, high spirits. And like I say, with the defensive record, they're very good in possession of Brighton. They've got the style in terms of how they play. They're a possession-based team, but sort of risk-averse in terms of how they play. It's simple passes but drawing the opposition out. So in terms of Graham Potter, he's done an excellent job, but flip it for the Leicester side today. As much as they're going to have a large amount of possession, Leicester can't be drawn out too much because they're waiting for players to leave their area to then play through. So sometimes you've got to leave them to do that, as much as it's sometimes frustrating that you can't get to the ball, but it's not really affecting too much. And the build-up approach is very good. But one thing they do struggle on is converting all the build-up play into goals or clear-cut chances. And then at the same time, can Leicester regain possession and then really counter-attack and be precise and be clinical when them opportunities come by? Because there's not been too much in the games. They've either been 0-0s, 1-0s. It's been very tight, so can't see it being too many goals today either.
They've started this season, Jerry, very strongly, as we alluded to in that package there, particularly defensively, the meanest record in the Premier League. And you look at those fixtures, they'll be so disappointed, really, won't they, last time out against Fulham, because that could have been a near perfect start.
When you look at the goals for, I think they've scored the same amount of goals as Leicester. It's obviously their defensive solidity that is, held them in good stead. And, they've got a settled back line, whether they play a 3 or a 4. They're playing 3, obviously, with Felton and Webster and Dunk. 3 defenders, basically, 3 out-and-out defenders. Whereas you look at Leicester, struggling a bit, makeshift back lines, or makeshift centre halves going in, hasn't quite come off. So you can see that, they're trying. In seasons gone by, when you've watched Brighton, they always had that frailty, defensive frailty. They look easy on the eye, play nice football, didn't create the amount of chances that their possession-based football, would suggest, and always were a bit, fragile at the back. But this season, that seems to have changed, where they look, well, the results that you see on it suggest that they look a lot more solid at the back, and obviously still trying to play that easy on the eye football. And so the balance, you hear Graham Potter talk about, he seems to have got that right.
Jerry was talking about the defenders, obviously there. Matty, you can talk about one of the more forward-thinking players, Pascal Gross, involved in 4 of the 6 goals that Brighton have scored this season. 3 goals, 1 assist. He's become very much the main man there.
Yeah, I like him. And it sort of goes back to where Graham Potter's got the team, and Jerry just touched on it briefly there, the fluid. So the other night they were playing a back 3 and then just switched to a back 4 on the spot. And Gross, he's the type of player that can be playing right wing, centre forward, drop into midfield. He seems to, he's got that versatility where he can move anywhere. And this season he's obviously added goals to his game and is a real threat, clever player.
Whose job will it be from a Leicester point of view to stop him today?
It's got to be communication in terms of who's going to pick it up. Is it Kari Samari dropping in to cover Gross if he drops in? Is it Johnny Evans going tight? So there's got to be communication to try and block those lines in the centre areas of the pitch where he can get on the half turn, but at the same time you've got to cover the threat that Welbeck will offer him behind. But goes back to it, the fluid, and Gross is the type of player where his versatility, he'll pop up anywhere. Arguably he could be more mobile without the ball, so Leicester can move it quickly when they've got possession, but he does seem to pick up pockets of space and use that really well, and he has been a threat this year. But that's the fluidity in the team where they can sort of change on the spot. I don't think it'll change as much today, but it's got to be that communication. Who's going to pick him up? Is it going to be onto the midfielders? Are they going to drop in, cover round, or is it going to be the centre defenders who are going to step in, obviously intercept and then play from there? So there's got to be loads of communication, not many gaps between the lines.
Yeah, Leicester have a fantastic record actually against Brighton, Jerry, in the Premier League. Last season, the defeat at the Amex, which, barring some questionable referee decisions, Leicester probably won't have lost that game. That's the only time they've lost to Brighton in the 10 meetings since Brighton came to the Premier League in 2017.
Yeah, very controversial ending to the game, wasn't it? With the 2 goals that were disallowed, not right at the end, but one of them right at the end. And yeah, very, very disappointing. And so maybe it's a bit of payback time for that result last season. And they're going to need a bit of luck as well today, Leicester. Simple as that. Brighton will go into this game full of confidence. Yes, they're coming in off the back of a defeat to Fulham, but they'll still be confident at home today. Opposite ends of the table, you'd have to say that Brighton are favourites for this game. But Leicester know that in the past they have had the beating of them. They have to try and somehow find a way around that solid back line, that a midfield line that Brighton possess. And I think it's going to be a really close game. I really do. So there's lots to play for, nothing to be afraid of. Nothing for Leicester to go in feeling nervous or unsure of today. It's a team that they know the majority of the players. They've played against them many, many times, come out the other side with points in the bag, apart from obviously the game last season where they should have took something, but for some controversial refereeing, shall we call it. It's all to play for today.
Yeah, Brighton coming up against a Leicester side that make 2 changes from the defeat to Manchester United on Thursday. In come 2 attacking players, 2 strikers, Daka and Iheanacho. Out go Jamie Vardy and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. This is how the Foxes line up. It's Danny Ward in goal. Luke Thomas, Johnny Evans, Wilfred Ndidi and James Justin is the back 4. We think a midfield 4 of Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tielemans, Bouba Samare and James Madison, with Iheanacho and Daka as a front 2. They'll be coming up against Brighton, of course, who make 1 change themselves. They have Sanchez in goal, a back 3 of Webster, Dunk, Veltman, Trossard and Solly March as the 2 wing-backs. McAllister, Caicedo and Mwepu in midfield with Welbeck, and Pascal Gross, we think, as a front 2. Gross, as we've just alluded to there, has made a very strong start to the season himself. Let's now hear from the Leicester City manager, Brendan Rodgers, who was reacting to that game with Manchester United on Thursday.
Yeah, I thought the players gave everything in the game. We made another really good start. We gave a soft goal away, from us being in possession. So just needed to close up the the line when the ball was played long, but unfortunately we didn't do that. But the reaction of the players was great. They still kept fighting. Second half we were excellent in terms of up to the final third, but final third of the pitch we lacked that bit of craft and a bit of imagination, if I'm honest. So that's something that was the only disappointment. But we stayed in the game right to the very end. JJ has the opportunity, and unfortunately, probably a bit of fatigue takes the toll on his technique. But he done great for us all game, and yeah, it was frustrating in the end.
In terms of the start of that second half, was that words from you at half time? Was that a tactical switch? You came up with so much intensity, with clearly the better side.
Yeah, we need to, our issue is with James Madison, and when he's not in the middle of the pitch, we lack that invention. So we tried to play him off the side and put our 3 midfield players in, and he came in and he was able to then get on it more, and that allows us, then he has that courage and he has that feeling where he can deal with the pressure of the game and take the ball, and once he was able to do that, we could then progress through the pitch much quicker. So yeah, he was outstanding for us, and we put him there and moved Key out to the side.
You mentioned the chance for JJ, no offence to him, but you'd have liked it to maybe have fallen to maybe Patson or Kelechi.
Well, I've seen JJ score outside the box against Stoke. He was just inside the box, so it's just one of them ones that he's made a great run to get there, a nice little pass, and unfortunately just didn't drop for him.
Such a tough start in terms of results, but positives from every game, probably more so tonight than most, and lots to take into the next game against Brighton.
Yeah, I think that there's been frustration all round. I think we've played well, like you say, in the Southampton game, the Brentford game, for 1 hour, and played really, really well, got up in the games, and then didn't manage to get the results. So that obviously leaves a little frustration. Should have taken certainly something from the Chelsea game, and the Arsenal game, we just made too many mistakes. And tonight, it was sort of likewise, really. But you can't fault the player spirit and what they're given. It's been a tough window for us. So I suspect and hope now that everything will settle down after tonight, and then we can get focused, get together again as a group, and look to win our next game.
Final couple of thoughts now, Jerry, ahead of handing over to the commentary team. I think Brendan Rodgers there alluded to the end of the transfer window. A lot of managers did that actually themselves in their pre-match press conferences this week. I think they're all relieved to see the back of the transfer window, and they can now sort of almost concentrate a little bit more, because you've got no outside noise, no worries about transfers. You know what your squad is.
Yeah, it's almost if Brendan was alluding to that if affects the mindset of the players, will the lack of transfer business, and now that is done and dusted. It's time to move on. You have what you have in the dressing room, and you're going to have to make a fist of it. It wasn't an ideal situation. We all know that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You don't become a bad team overnight. And you are where you are because that is the Premier League. And if you don't win games and you concede soft goals, which again, the goal, you listen to Brendan, it's a soft goal, you're not going to win games of football. And so now, after all the pressure and all the hullabaloo of the transfer window, and that is now gone, it's time to roll up your sleeves and start grinding out results, and hopefully that starts today.
Thank you very much, Jerry Taggart. Very quickly, just a final prediction from you, Matty, if possible, please.
I'm thinking 1-1, but I'm hopeful for a smash and grab and first clean sheet in 6 months in the league, I believe. So I'm going hopeful for a smash and grab of a 0-1 for us.
0-1. Okay. 1-0 Leicester win, basically. Yeah. Hopefully you're right. I'm sure Jerry Taggart will agree with you there. It is now time, though, to hand over to our commentary team this afternoon. We were about 15 minutes away now from kick-off down on the south coast at the Amex Stadium. Coming up next, we've got full match commentary.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamiat is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Lamiat philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Welcome along to the Amex Stadium here in Farmer East Sussex. We are just off the south coast. Live action from this Premier League clash this afternoon as Brighton and Hove Albion host Leicester City. Well, Leicester made it 4 successive Premier League defeats, and they were beaten at home by Manchester United on Thursday. 3 days on, looking for some long-awaited success. It's the Foxes' worst start to the season at this level since the 1994-95 relegation season, when they also took just a single point after 5 games. It's a run that the players cannot afford to let continue much longer, that's for sure. Host Brighton have enjoyed a solid start to the season under Graham Potter, who spent nearly 40 million in the summer renovating their squad. They suffered their first defeat of the season when they lost at Fulham in midweek, and are looking to bounce back here at a stadium where they haven't conceded a goal so far this season after a draw against Newcastle and win against Leeds. It's a club well set up for success at this level, having finished a single point behind Leicester at the end of last season. In terms of the team news today, starting with host Brighton, one change for them. Pervis Estupiñán drops out of the side as Danny Welbeck comes in. Sanchez in goal, Veltman, Duncan Webster the back three, March at right wing back, and Wepu, Caicedo, and Trossard off the left-hand side we think today. McAllister and Gross in support of Welbeck up front. Big changes for Leicester. Out go Keane and Dewsbury Hall, as well as Jamie Vardy. It's Kelechi Iheanacho and Patson Daka who start up front. Wout Faes is ineligible, having not received his work permit visa in time. So Leicester line up with Ward in goal, Justin and Didi, Evans and Thomas at the back, Soumare and Tielemans in central midfield, Madison and Barnes advance ahead of them in, we think, a 4-4-2, Daka and Iheanacho starting up front. The Foxes bench today, sub-goalkeeper Daniel Everson, Vardy or Brighton, Perez Amati, Dewsbury Hall, Mendy Pratt and Castagna. A man who's fought his way through the traffic to be here, I'm delighted to say, is Matt Elliott. Matt, good to see you. You've mopped the sweat off your brow. It's been a tricky old journey down.
Yeah, I got here by the skin of my teeth. Trip from hell, to be honest, but the less said about it, the better. We're here, football is ready to go, and we've got some entertainment in front of us. We've got some hard work required from Leicester's point of view, haven't you? You've sort of infused me a little bit with your stats there. A not so recent defeat against Fulham, we're thinking, okay, maybe Brighton are not flying as high as a lot of people report them to be, but then you remind me that they haven't conceded a goal here, in albeit only 2 games at the MX Stadium here, but yeah, it's a big task ahead of Leicester, isn't it? And it's going to take some good characters and some strong wills out there to get the result.
Well, the fans haven't heard from you pre-match. What do you make of this Leicester team and the shape we think they're going to set up in?
Yeah, I think a lot of people made a lot of sort of summarisations about or giving their opinions on what Brendan Rodgers should or shouldn't do. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say he's necessarily listened to people, but he's sort of gone somewhere in between what a lot of people were hoping for, isn't he? I think a couple of big decisions there, really. You know, he must have been toying with a few alternatives, but it looks certainly on paper as if it's going to remain a back four. Castagna remains on the bench behind Luke Thomas. Some people may be questioning that, but he's showing faith in the youngster. In midfield, I suppose I don't know, in my view, is sort of the most surprising, I would say, of the changes is the fact that Dewsbury Hall is on the bench. It just shows you the harsh reality of, you know, how you've got to keep your levels up. I think Jerry gave him man of the match against Man United in a week, and that was a tough decision. There were a few candidates, not necessarily for the right reasons, but it's you know, he's been one of the main men and finds himself outside for now. I'm sure he'll probably have a part to play this afternoon, but I suppose that's from my point of view. But I think from a lot of people's main talking point will be, and a lot of people, strange as it seems, will be pleased to see Iheanacho and Daka in place of the one and only Jamie Vardy. It just feels like maybe he needs to re-energise a little bit, or just take a little side step and come back at a later date, which I'm sure he will.
And Brighton, fourth coming into this weekend, still the early stages, but beaten at Fulham on Tuesday, but they have already won 3 of 5 games this season. You look at their team, and on paper there's no standout star, is there? You know, they sold Cucurella in the summer, big money. Mope's gone out, Bissouma's joined Spurs as well. It's a solid group, isn't it? But there's no direct threat that you're saying you've got to shut that off.
No, I know what you're saying, but there are threats from many positions, many areas, aren't there? I think from the bits and pieces I've seen of Brighton of late, Pascal Gross seems to be coming to the fore. He's always been a quality performer, but without sort of having his name up in lights, if you like, in Premier League profile. But he's featured quite prominently in the early part of the season. Trossard as well, you know, he's got an abundance of talent, and he is a ball of energy, but finds himself, we think, on the left-hand side in that wing-back role. You'd think that maybe that's an area that Leicester can try and expose in terms of his defensive work, but he's a threat going forward, isn't he? Welbeck, he seems to have been around for years, doesn't he? A lot of people say that, but he's still got a bit of life in him, and on his day, given the right service, he can be a handful. So, I mean, the recruitment for Brighton is incredible, isn't it? How they keep bringing these names under the radar, and then they turn them into genuine Premier League players. They've sold a couple this season. Everyone knows the players who've gone: Bissouma, Cucurella. Could have been a couple more. Lewis Dunk is continually mentioned about to leave Brighton and go to bigger and better things. Potentially
an England call as well. They've signed Billy Gilmour as well.
Yeah, Billy Gilmour's on the bench there. Levi Colwill from Chelsea as well on loan.
Lamptey can't even get in the side.
I mean, what a player he is, and he's on the bench. That shows you where they're at right now.
Yeah. Sun is shining here at the Amex. Just a short train ride away from central Brighton. Located up in the hills, this stadium almost built into the ground. It's a fantastic atmosphere when the fans are right behind their side here. Leicester with 3,000 fans away to our right-hand side, hoping that they're going to have plenty to cheer about and something to take away with them back to the East Midlands later on this afternoon. The first of 2 Premier League games today, Manchester United against Arsenal, the second one later. Of course, our full focus here at the Amex as Brighton take on Leicester. We are just waiting for the 2 sides to take to the field here. The Amex filling up around us. Should be a sellout for this one here today. Brighton fans having it just about as good as they've had in recent memory, certainly for a couple of generations. Their 6th successive Premier League season. The last time Leicester came here was in September last year, when goals from Mope and Welbeck secured a 2-1 win. Vardy got a goal in that game. He doesn't play here today. The emphasis and onus very much on Iheanacho and Daka. Here come the sides. It's another chance for Leicester City to register their first Premier League win of the season, down at an improving and high-flying Brighton side that have won 3 of 5 so far under their head coach Graham Potter. The Seagulls are yet to concede here in front of their own fans this season. Leicester in their change kit today of black with the mint trim. And the Brighton anthem echoing around us here at the Amex. Leicester standing in front of us, fully focused. I heard a bit of Brendan Rodgers' pre-match chatter. The interview that he's done today, he says that he doesn't want his side to be safe, he wants them to take risks. And they're going to have to do that if they want to get themselves a victory here. Just to recap that Leicester side again: Ward the goalkeeper, Justin Ndidi, Evans and Thomas, Soumare and Tielemans in midfield, Madison and Barnes the wide men, Daka and Iheanacho up front. Another opportunity for Soumare as well, getting a good run in the team now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's looked like increasingly more comfortable in that central defensive midfield position, you know, which is so vital that you're bright and aware and don't make basic errors, don't lose possession in that part of the field. And I think Soumare's maybe been a little bit guilty of that, a bit ponderous at times in the past, but those moments are becoming less and less. He has the ability, he's got a fluency about him. I know partly a forced issue, you know, with Ndidi going in at centre half, opens up the space for Soumare to come in. But I think regardless of that, you know, he came in and Ndidi was on the bench, didn't he? And I think was it against Chelsea. He you know, he looks for that different option, Brendan Rodgers, from Soumare. You feel like there's a very decent player in there. You know, a lot of people wanted him to get his opportunity, and now he's got it. He's got to make the most of it.
One of those sliding doors moments, because, you know, Brendan Rodgers was talking about how, you know, at one point he was going to be leaving the club earlier this summer, and now suddenly he gets a run of Premier League games.
Yeah, I think it was obvious. I mean, Leicester wouldn't have looked to bring him to the club for a substantial amount of money, you know, without seeing lots of positive signs, lots of attributes. But I think it was, I don't know, I was just reading between the lines. It seems like Brendan perhaps was getting a little bit frustrated that he wasn't picking things up, stroke learning, to cut out those crucial mini errors over a period of time. And, you know, there's only so long that you can sort of persevere with things, but all of a sudden, certainly to a level, the penny seems to have dropped.
Well, we are just about ready to get started here. The cameraman leaving the field of play. Just the mascots and the referees, as well as the two captains here, Johnny Evans and Lewis Dunk, going through the formalities here before kick-off. Leicester surely have to get that win. Looking for their first league win since the final day of last season, when they put 4 past Southampton at King Power. To see what comes here today. The referee for this one, by the way, a relatively inexperienced Premier League official in the shape of Tony Harrington. Chris Kavanagh, the VAR. Plenty of VAR chat already this weekend. Hopefully not much of it, if any of it, here today. The referee just coming over to this near side. He's not happy with something before we start, but we'll be